on AEW.
And here
they built it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Gimmick Minute Wrestling Podcast. Not only are we back at full strength this week with Michael, Kevin, and myself, Jason, but we have a shit ton of stuff to talk about. Since the last time you heard our voices, we have had 3 pay-per-views. 2 from AEW, 1 from WWE. We've had firings, we've had deaths, we've had pretty much everything in between. And that all only happened in about a week and a half. So without further ado, we're going to get started. If you want to join in on the conversation, please do so by tweeting us at LiveYourGimmick. That's the @ symbol followed by LIVYOURGIMMICK.
MOUSC.
Welcome back, Michael. How you doing? And you can talk to us about everything that we're talking about today, but you can also leave us feedback on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or however you listen to this episode. But to start off with, Michael, you weren't able to join us for our Bray Wyatt tribute when we recorded it last Thursday, right after we learned about his passing. So if there's anything that you wanted to say in regards to Bray and your feelings on the issue, feel free. The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, the wrestling world lost one of the most creative minds it's ever seen. Like, he did some real weird shit, but a lot of it was absolutely incredible and well thought out and well planned out. And no, I don't think anyone will ever be able to do what he did at the level he did. And it's really a shame that to lose him this early on, and to see some of the news outlets fucking posting shit like he wasn't wearing his doctor recommended defibrillator. Like, fuck off, bro.
Yeah.
Like, go get clicks somewhere else, you piece of shit.
Or even Meltzer with the he was about to debut for AEW before deciding to re-sign with WWE. Like, dude, come on. Like, what?
Yeah, it was just all, and that's how I think, like, because, like, Mike, like, I that was probably what, Jason, one of our shortest shows ever, because Jason and I were just like, we were just lost at words the whole time. We didn't even know really what to say. Like, I had to bring up Terry Funk just to give us a little bit of a show. This is crazy how, you lost 2 of the most influential. Yeah, I mean, talk about Terry Funk. I mean, and but yeah, I mean, and that was one. Yeah, I mean, come on, shit happens. We don't, what I mean? It's just, it's tragic enough, and then you got to bring up, like, shit happens all.
Basically, try to fucking blame it on him. Essentially, be like, well, if he would have done this, he'd still be. Fuck off.
Yeah. I mean, guy was just going to take a nap. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it just sucks. But I thought WWE did a really great job the Friday after, paying tribute to not only Wyndham but also Terry Funk as well. I mean, I thought they did it. That they were kind of tasked with something very difficult because, Terry Funk, a lot of people kind of expected that he didn't have a whole lot of time left. That was not the case with Bray, and the fact that they were able. He
was on the verge of returning.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Yeah. So the fact that they were able to kind of pull it together and have a tribute show to both was good. I loved how they opened it up with the rocking chair, and then the close of it with the lantern, and then when the camera, like, I thought he was standing in the ring for a second, man. Like, I got goosebumps. Like, I was like, holy shit, was this a work the whole time? Like, the way that they kind of panned that camera back and stuff like that. Like, that was crazy. But they had the almost looked like the angel wings and stuff like that. Like, that was awesome how they did that.
And I think the other big thing, like Jason and I talked about, was, like, I think it was Swerve Strickland, who I talked about how, like, he's like, why do we have to have deaths, like, bring us together as a wrestling community? You know what I mean? Like, everything just seems so fucking silly. Like, and that's one thing we should at least give kudos for both companies. Like, WWE bringing Eric Rowan in, you know what I mean? Like, that was big. Like, Tony Khan, like, anybody that was going to go through his funeral on Wednesday were allowed to miss Dynamite. So, at least there was, some good on both parts.
Yeah. And that's really probably all the backstage good we got. But we'll get into some of that later. But yeah, I liked how both shows did pay tribute to him. Like House of Black's entrance for All In was very Bray Wyatt-esque with the, encouraging people with the Fireflies. They even made mention, I think Nigel McGuinness said something about, the lights in the arena will forever be known as Fireflies now. You know what I mean? Like anytime you see it like that. And I think I think that was very apropos. Seth even had kind of a tribute style to his entrance at Payback. And, Becky had a very heartfelt moment in the ring after the main event of Monday Night Raw, where she said her piece and told a story, and the show ended with her holding up her Bray armband in her hand and stuff like that. So all in all, I thought both wrestlers and the companies did a great job of basically paying tribute to both guys. The tribute packages for both that they played were great. The one that played for Bray played on Raw and also on NXT, and after each one they had the rocking chair with the spotlight on it. So I thought that was nice. But then honestly though, come this Friday, it was all done. Like they had completely moved past it. Like there was nothing on Friday. You didn't even see anybody wearing the armbands or anything. Like I said, Seth's thing at Saturday still kind of was a tribute, but that was really about it. But he had even changed the side plate on the title back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's always been, though. They always, they do the one and done, tribute show, and then it's back to business.
Yeah, and I think that's probably good for some of those guys, so they're not, sitting there and stewing in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
the only one that was ever longer than that was Eddie, and that was mostly, people like Ray, who would still wear the armbands well after the fact.
That's true, yeah. Eddie did continue to wear that all the time, so... But yeah, I mean, and the matches were what they were on that show. I don't think it was really about that. I think it was just more about the paying tribute. I do think it was funny that they did the Terry Funk hardcore match, and there was literally one table spot in it, and nothing else. There was nothing hardcore about the match at all. It was just kind of I don't know. But yeah. So then after that, you got that Sunday then. AEW had All In. This was their big Wembley Stadium show, and man, they keep all right. So they keep talking about 80,000 plus attendance. That is the gate. That is how many tickets they sold. People in the arena had said, I don't know if there's necessarily 80,000 here. So it sounds like they wanted to publish the sold ticket amount. Mm-hmm. Not the actual attendance. So that sounds like there was maybe some comp tickets or some tickets that were sold as giveaways, or maybe scalpers bought tickets and not necessarily didn't sell them, or maybe even Tony went into his pocket and made sure to buy a few 100,000 tickets. But I mean, who knows? But it was still impressive. I mean, the arena looked full for the most part. I mean, I thought they did a good job of really showing off the size of the crowd. I thought the crowd was pretty loud for the most part. You could hear a lot of stuff that was going on. I mean, it's an open air arena, so a lot of that sound is going to get lost. So there was maybe some moments, but yeah, man, I don't know. How much of the show did you guys watch?
I just saw clips. I didn't really.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a lot interest in much of any of it.
Okay, well, I watched the whole thing. So. my only thing was, aside from Joe and this is aside from anything that happened, but the pre-show match between Hook and Jack Perry I thought was good. I thought it was a lot of fun, and aside from the whole Real Glass thing, the spot that they did on the limo and stuff like that, that was pretty cool, and they had a pretty decent match. I thought Punk and Joe had a good match, good rivalry. MJF and Adam Cole speaks for itself, man. That's the best story AEW has told ever, and it has been amazing. And their match was fantastic. Great storytelling. Great guys. To steal something from MJF, but they just every other match on that card though seemed like it was the exact same thing though. so many multi-man matches. Like there just wasn't a whole lot of difference between anything that was going on. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, the match I saw the most of was Joe and Punk, and that's just because, I mean, it's Joe and Punk. So I actually I was curious to see what it'd be like. I enjoyed what I saw. Adam Cole, and I thought it was weird because Adam Cole and MJF had their tag match on the pre-show.
Correct, and they won,
and then
the
came
ROH
back for the
tag
main
titles.
event.
Right.
And I'm just like, it was an odd choice for me, just because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like having them win the titles and it not turning into like a big swerve at the end. Like, why do they need the? Because isn't it the ROH titles? Like, who gives a fuck?
Right. I was even thinking that today. I was like, because when I was watching Dynamite the other day and like saw a segment with them and they got the belts and stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking like, who is even the Ring of Honor like world champion? Like, I know Joe's the TV champ.
It's
I know they're
Claudio.
tags, like, is it Claudio?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's Claudio.
So again, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I
just
agree with
proves it
Mike
right there.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, why? You know, if you're trying to be different, that's not the event to do it at. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if this was All Out or something like not just one of your normal pay-per-views, okay, maybe. But like, this is your biggest event ever, and this has been billed as, you know, your main event. I mean, and it was, and they did a good job with their storytelling. Like, because if you think back, like when this event was announced months and months and months ago, did you ever think that MJF and Adam Cole would be the main event?
No.
Like MJF,
No.
sure, but do you think it would be Adam Cole? No, you're thinking like MJF and CM Punk. You're thinking Ospreay and Omega maybe is going to be the main event again or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So the fact that they did such a great job building it in the little bit of time that they did, like we shouldn't have seen those guys until that main event. We shouldn't have seen them until they're, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's what a main event is. You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe they do an interview segment, each of them halfway through or something like that. But like, can you imagine if like Hogan Warrior like wrestled Andre and Haku in the first match at WrestleMania 6 for the tag team titles, and then won the tag team titles, and then they went out in the fucking main event 3 hours later and had the Ultimate Challenge.
All right, so I'll defend
Sorry.
I'll defend it just based off of this. So it was on the pre-show, which is fine, and they used it as a storytelling device because when MJF ended up winning the match and Cole was looking to turn on him, and MJF like basically held out that title like, oh, you don't give a shit about this, you didn't really care about us, and kind of like threw it down. And that was kind of the, you know, it was like the kind of planting that seeds of dissent or whatever. Like they did a good job of using it as a way to further along the friendship. Like, are they or aren't they with using those titles? That is really, that's the only thing I can say is maybe a net positive for why they did it, is it was another way to maybe set it up to where you thought that, like, it gave you doubt on whether or not Cole was going to turn or not. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like it was, because I kind of feel like maybe that was where this was going to go, and they decided to like pivot and turn course because of how popular the tag team is. Like, I feel like they're like, all right, let's just let it ride. But I mean, I get it though. I mean, it was still kind of dumb, but at the same time, I think that's the only reason why, is just so they could use that prop in the storytelling, and that's really about it. We lost Michael, and Kevin's flipping around like a crazy person.
Well, and I went on my phone for a second and I couldn't get you guys back like on the screen, and Mike like froze up on my end. So
yeah, he froze and then disappeared. So who knows? He'll be back eventually. He might have decided.
He's like that's enough. He's like, oh, we thought you were like, oh, that's enough That's enough after 2 weeks.
Well, that was interesting. Discord got so bored with your explanation that it kicked me out.
All right, well, I'll stop talking about it then. Yeah, I mean, the whole story with House of Black and the Acclaim was cool, and the Acclaim winning them winning the trios championships, I thought was fun. Did you see their custom championships from the next Dynamite?
Oh, the scissors.
Yeah, so the it's like a pink strap with the plates on it, and the belts where they fasten, it's a scissor, so they can scissor with the title belts.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not like pink or whatever. They're like, I don't know, like a red fuchsia or something like that.
Nah, they
I
looked
saw
hot.
that.
They looked
That was
hot pink
cool.
to me when they debuted them.
Or like maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, it still snaps, like they still have snaps and stuff. But it's like as they snap, they scissor. So
Yeah.
somebody said, "It's like God, Tony Khan loves spending money on belts."
Yeah.
What? No.
And I thought that Saraya winning the women's championship was in her home in England was a big deal. And but I mean, that match only got 8 minutes. It was the only women's match on the card, and it was a 4-way, and they got 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But hey, AEW is supposed to be all for the women's wrestling.
Yeah, and did you see that they got rid of Sunny Kiss, and there was a whole bunch of disturbance there, and boy, I'll tell you, Tony Khan's got his hands full right now.
I heard rumors of Jay Cargill like possibly like leaving once her contract's up.
Well, she hasn't been on since she lost the TBS title. Like she just disappeared after that.
Yeah, so I've heard.
So.
Yeah, I don't know.
But but it was still a good moment for Saraya winning the championship there. I love Toni Storm's new character. I don't know if you guys have really gotten a whole lot of this, but she popped Renee Young on Dynamite when she was cutting her promo, and she said she said something about everything is like tits up in here or something like that, and it made Renee laugh on camera. Like she couldn't hold it back.
I just said it. Yeah.
But her character, I love the character work that she is doing. Like I think that's a cool thing for Toni Storm to be trying something different. But yeah, man, like the Stadium Stampede match, like what's the difference now between Stadium Stampede and Anarchy in the Arena? It's the same shit, right? It's just a stadium instead of arena. It's the same type of match. Like it was just too much to follow, too much going on. The coffin match with Darby Allin, Serve, and Christian Cage and Sting, like, okay, how do you do it just doesn't make sense to me that you do a tag team coffin match and only one guy has to go in. Like,
yeah, that was a weird choice.
I don't know, man. Like, it's just a match to have a
That'd
match.
be like a cage match and only one dude needs to escape.
And they did such a good job of building a story with Omega and Takeshita. Why isn't that a singles match? Why did we have to add in Kota Ibushi, Hangman, and then Jay White and Juice Robinson? Like, why did we have to make that a 6-man? Like, we already have.
Gotta get everyone paid, man. Everybody
3,
part of the biggest thing.
4, 5 multi-man matches already on the card. Like, why do we need to have that? Like, it just, what Ospreay and Jericho was pretty good. Like, I thought that was a good match. I don't know if you guys saw that. Jericho came out with his band singing on the way out.
Yeah, that's why I commented. Like, his entrance was pretty sweet. Like, that was cool. It was almost like a quick little concert for everybody. So,
But that was just Jericho's way of getting his band to say, "Oh, we played in front of 80,000 people at Wembley."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, selfish reasons there. Kevin, you're giving me a seizure with how much you're flipping your camera.
Why do you keep turning your camera on and off? Jesus fucking Christ! I've been back for 25 fucking minutes and you can't keep your shit together.
Because I'm on my fucking phone.
Like, quit moving your phone. Just sit it there like a normal fucking person.
I'm sorry.
Then ignore him. Be like, it's daddy's me time in the basement talking to the boys.
He's in the garage.
Well, that explains the shit reception because now he's frozen.
I know. Oh my god.
But yours says unstable.
You're breaking up now. I can't even hear you.
Oh, sorry. What was that, McDonald's? Do you want fries with that?
Oh my god. God damn it! I'll exit and come out. Come back.
If you quit fucking with it, it would fucking work.
This show's already long enough without all the technical difficulties.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. All right.
I'll come back if we do it early to keep it so I can go down time. Kevin, let me see if I can delay this as much as possible with technical difficulties.
I'm not going back on camera. So how about that?
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. So moving on. All right. So on the WWE side, we already talked a little bit about some of the tributes they did on Monday Night Raw. Aside from that, like they're doing a really good job of building Gable versus Gunther, which is happening tonight for the championship. And then, then we had WWE Payback, which was this. Oh, maybe we should go back and talk about what happened at All In.
Let's just close the show with that, because that's going to take the biggest chunk.
Okay. All right. I'm cool with that. So, did anybody watch WWE Payback?
Nope.
I watched the entire thing.
Me too. All right. Thanks, Kevin. All right. We watched the entire thing. I
because I get it.
I for one,
I'm part time.
I for one thought WWE Payback was a really good show.
I think it had a great opening.
Yes.
It had a good climax with Owens and Zayn versus Judgment Day.
Yep.
And then it had a pretty damn good main event.
Yep. Michael, did you happen to see any of the pictures of Trish Stratus after her cage match with Becky Lynch?
Nope.
Go Google that real quick.
Yeah.
Like, is she naked or something?
No. There was a spot where
her forehead.
Yeah,
her forehead.
Basically, Becky had Trish's head and was slamming it into the cage repeatedly over and over and over again. And Trish had this big, huge welt that welted up on her forehead, and she never bled. It didn't bust her open, but she had this big, huge bump, and then it bruised.
And it's worse
really
now.
Bad. Yeah.
Oh, it's so black and blue.
Right.
Yeah, on the show, you just saw the knot. It wasn't black and blue yet, but the aftermath.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I see the photo shoot with it, and she's got all these bruises on her arms, and there's this big old fucking black and blue
I mean, I gotta say that match from start to finish had me fucking. Jason, you had talked about a couple weeks ago about jumping around during a match.
Yeah.
That match was awesome.
Yeah.
Holy shit, there's a close up of her laying on the mat, and she has a vein that goes down her forehead, and it just stops, welts up, and then restarts again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, definitely a contusion. It was rough, and
honestly, the tag title match was good, but Mike, if you're gonna go back and watch one match, it's the first match. Go back and watch it. For a steel cage match, and and especially women, it was pretty awesome.
I dare to say that was probably Trish Stratus's best match as a pro wrestler.
Succotash.
Sorry, I feel like that was Trish's
was
best match ever. One of Becky's best too. Yeah. No.
Easily.
Yeah.
When she had her legs locked into the top of the cage and fell back.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a slow. It was
she swung back.
swung back
Yeah.
and would have blown out any of our knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when they did that superplex from the very top of the cage, the athleticism of both of them and just landing just so perfectly, such a good match.
Yeah. It was
Awesome
match.
Great.
It really was. I can't say enough good things about it. Yeah, the street fight though, the tag street fight was really good. I thought Kevin and Sammy, when they went in the penalty box and they came out wearing Pittsburgh Penguins uniforms, I thought that was awesome.
When they threw the glove.
Yeah.
Down. But not even that, but Kevin Owens. You talk about a crazy ass spot. The dive.
Oh yeah, the Swanton.
Oh my!
It was
God.
that reminded me of Hardy from Royal Rumble. Was it '98 when he did it off of that car or whatever?
Yeah, but Owens Owens was probably at least 10 feet higher
Yeah.
and 100 pounds heavier.
Landing on
And
Dom.
like when he, oh my god, when he landed to like
Getting his receipts.
Yeah.
like when you watch the replay, like Owens is just such a professional, landed so well, and like it looked like he didn't hurt himself as bad. But like
Yeah.
in live time, like I was like, what the?
You know,
Fuck.
and it almost looked like he almost
Oh,
missed the
my
table. Like he hit Dom and it cracked. He hit him hard enough to crack the table, but his like the bottom half of his body, probably from his waist down, hit first, like off of the table. Like it hit the ground before before everything kind of crashed through. So he did it in a way to where he really sacrificed himself and didn't hurt Dom. You know what I mean? Like he protected Dom really well on that, and it just that shows you what kind of professional he is. But damn, man, like that was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That the match is. I mean, again, it was just another. You didn't know when it was going to finish, and then the outcome happened, and I was like, I wasn't upset about it because it was just such a hell of a match that. Yeah, good for Judgment Day.
Yeah, and I think it's time. You know what I mean? Like Kevin and Sammy both have been dealing with injuries, so their title run had gotten a little stale, and I think that Judgment Day it's a good storytelling device for them to because they keep having that are they going to break up, are they going to stay together type thing going on, and this helps cement them and keep them together for right now, and I think that. Kevin and Sammy both have good singles runs in their future coming up real quick, and I think either one of them could be a good candidate to go after Seth for the World Heavyweight Championship. And it's just, it was a good way for them to lose the title. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of it kept them strong while still giving Judgment Day the win.
Yeah, it wasn't like, goddamn, like. Because you still think about to their great moment they had at WrestleMania and stuff, but it was kind of like you said, it was time, and it's not as upsetting just because Judgment Day, but just everything, all the chaos that happened throughout the match. Fucking Rhea coming out and spearing Owens.
Yeah,
and then her selling it too. You know what I mean? Like
Michael, Rhea speared Owens through the barricade, like a Roman Reigns spear through the barricade.
Yeah, out of nowhere too.
Like she wasn't even
yelled "mommy" when she did it.
She wasn't even a part of the match, and that was before her match with Raquel Rodriguez too. Like she hadn't even had her championship match yet. She came out for that after. But
also, did you just notice that I saw someone compare Rhea did a tribute gear to China?
Yeah, she did. Yep. Yeah, they talked about that on air too. Like that was a nice touch, and Raquel's tribute gear was very similar. I think it was kind of Eddie Guerrero inspired, but. That match was good, but at where Raquel is right now and where Rhea is right now, you just knew that Rhea was going to win that match. Like there's no other outcome that was going to happen.
Yeah, and having the tag team match before that and having Judgment Day win, I feel like also kind of cemented that, since she was all like, everyone needs to come back with gold this weekend or we're going to have problems. So it'd be weird for her to be the one that didn't do it.
Yeah, it was kind of a depth spot because the crowd was just... They were not into it, so...
I thought the wrinkle of having John Cena as the host was kind of fun, because, he had that moment with The Miz in the ring, then he was a guest ref with Miz and LA Knight, which kind of made that interesting, and there was even, LA Knight kind of had that, wasn't very trusting of Cena either, which was kind of cool. And then, but the backstage segment where he did the interview, dude, I fucking laughed my ass off. Did you see that one, Kev?
I might have... I think I missed that.
So he was still wearing his ball cap, but he had a vest, like a suit jacket on.
Blazer.
He had a tie on, even though he still had his t-shirt on.
Oh yeah, he did the southpaw wrestling.
Yeah, and he crouched,
That's right.
and he was crouched down for the interview. So after he was done with the interview, he stood back up, and he was like, "Oh." So he wasn't taller than the two guys that he was interviewing. It was fucking hilarious. It was great, good stuff. I couldn't even tell you who he was interviewing, but it was just so funny.
Well, I know we're gonna talk about it, but I gotta mention, I know we're gonna talk about the Grayson Waller effect.
Yeah.
But man, I love watching this dude more and more every week.
Grayson Waller?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like his segment, he reminds me. I'm not comparing him like he is him, but like he's almost Roddy Piper esque with Piper's Pit, to where like it's all about him,
Yeah.
and he's the one that does all the talking, and like you're a guest, but who cares? And like, you know what I mean? Like he has a lot of like, I can see mannerisms potentially developing in him like that. But the whole segment was awesome
Yeah.
with Cody,
Yeah.
and then the shock.
Yeah. So Cody announced that he pulled some strings and he brought somebody to the Monday Night Raw roster, and that somebody was main event Jey Uso, who came out with new music, and but is very similar to the old music, where he's like,
It's just now
Just
he's
new
it's just
lyrics,
now
yeah.
it's just now he's down.
yeah. And Jimmy had he came out on SmackDown and confronted Cena, and he had new music and stuff like that too. So and what they're doing with Jimmy right now is kind of intriguing. Is he with the Bloodline? Is he not with the Bloodline? But now Jay is on his own on Monday Night Raw, and he actually opened Monday Night Raw. I just started watching it right before we recorded, but I didn't get a chance to kind of finish everything that was going on.
He had something with Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does this mean like Cody's gonna like trade himself to SmackDown?
No, I don't think it had anything to do with Cody. I think Cody was just bringing him to Raw. And like Michael Cole, oh my God, Michael Cole, when Jay was coming out on Raw, Michael Cole goes, yeah, Cody used to be an EVP in a prior company. And I guess he's still flexing some of those skills.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Did I send you guys the picture? I don't know if I sent it or not of the AEW Discipline Committee.
Yes.
Did I post that in our group chat?
Did you?
You did not, but I saw it.
Oh,
Okay, I was like, I don't remember seeing
it
that.
was the elite.
yeah.
All four of them.
Yeah, I'll put it in there, but yeah. So it's it definitely. Like I said, it was a good show. Like you said, Kevin, it had a great start, great finish. The Shinsuke and Seth for the World Championship was a hell of a match. I love Shinsuke's reaction even after it.
Yeah, people are like pissed off about it, but like I think there's more to this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's another one of those things where Shinsuke is like still strong coming out of this, and to where there's gonna be another match. So
I say as long as there's another match, I'm fine with it because like I felt like the build up to it felt very personal. So for it to just like abruptly like end with no tomfoolery felt kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, and Seth, it was definitely one of those things where Seth kind of got lucky. Like he didn't necessarily win so much as he survived. And I think that was kind of the takeaway from it. Like he won the match, but he basically survived the match.
And I
they're
heard
doing
something about
such
like he went for the second Shinkasa and like Rollins fell over or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of got lucky
And then-
and got the stomp on him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're doing such a good job with this whole broken back thing, and you know what I mean. Like, there's more to it.
Yeah.
There's more, I think, that we built up with it.
So, and then, I mean, that was pretty much all about that. And then, then AEW then had All Out, which, I said this before we started recording, but to me, like, I think it's bullshit. I've heard that there were some rumors of some like, I guess Tony Khan said something about how there wasn't a way to do a package across every pay-per-view platform to like make it fair or something like that. So they didn't do any type of like buy one get one packages for All In and All Out. Like they made people pay $50 for each show. I didn't pay for it. I watched it for free on a website. Not going to say which one, but I'll openly admit that I wasn't going to pay for either one of them. I thought All Out, All In would have been worth it. I think, even though I didn't particularly like, I liked most of the show. It was like just
You have to be, I mean, hardcore. I mean,
It was a spectacle.
AEW
Yeah.
fans.
You have to be a mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All Out though, like they should not have charged money for that show. Like that's bullshit that they charged another $50 just a week later for basically what was a glorified Dynamite. Like
That's everything I've heard about
they-
it too. That's the funny
and that's like it was,
Yeah, and
but
they-
there was no build for any of the matches. Like they opened with fucking Dark Order versus who did they face?
Better Than You, baby.
Yeah, better than like
Yeah.
just a random match. Like it made no fucking sense. I don't know.
They should have no. It should have been like WCW used to do. Okay, so in August when they started doing those Road Wilds or Hog Wilds, so they would do that on a Saturday and then come back every August. WCW always did a Clash of Champions in August, and it was always free on TBS. They should have done All In on Sunday or whatever day it was, and then they should have came if they're going to come back the following week or however it worked out. What was it, Saturday to Sunday or something like that? Then they should have just done, a 2 hour or even do a 3 hour or whatever, all out on TBS or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
They need that money.
I mean, I don't.
Especially now they lost one Bill Phil.
Yeah, and then like having Dennis Rodman on Collision, like what the fuck? What in the 1997 WCW?
When was the last time he was relevant to anything though? That's the best part of
The only thing that puts him relevant in the wrestling space is that Conrad had him at Starfest or Starcast or whatever his big
Starcast, yeah.
Yeah,
Starcast, yeah.
So that he had him at Starcast because it was in Chicago. So Dennis Rodman back in Chicago. But yeah, man, it just didn't like. That's how they were trying to compete with Payback for Collision, is bringing in Dennis Rodman while you're in Chicago after you just fired CM Punk. Like that's a rough situation.
Along
to be
with
in.
the fucking way Tony Khan before the show started, he sits in a chair to make the announcement.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and talk like All Out. The only thing that really came out of that was Orange Cassidy finally lost the what is it called now?
International something or other.
Yeah, to Jon Moxley in a very bloody match. Go figure. Brian Danielson, I guess, came back at All Out. That was kind of cool. Lana debuted in AEW at All Out.
It's C.G. Perry.
C.J. Perry, buddy.
C.J. Perry.
That's her actual name.
Better than calling her WWE name.
Sorry. Well, everybody knows her as Lana. Not a lot of people know her as C.J. Perry. Miro's wife.
Because she's on AEW. And only people listen to wrestling podcast remarks anyway, so they're probably know who she is.
But they're not all AEW marks. Some people that listen to the show don't even listen to.
They probably Googled her for other reasons, Jason.
That's true. So C.J. Perry, FKA Lana, appeared at All Out, but Miro didn't seem very happy to see her. But that's a story in itself. He's trying to tell a story on Collision that nobody watches. So
it's because he started having flashbacks because he was out there with Powerhouse Hobbs. He started having flashbacks with Bobby Lashley. So
he was having cuckold flashbacks. That's sad.
Every time I read
though, Collision actually has had like consistent viewership, so I feel like no one's watching.
It's chuckled
flashbacks. Yeah, it's consistent. But they lose 60%. Anytime WWE does something, they lose a big audience. But it's consistent, like around like 400,000 people. Like it's not like a crazy
compared to
number.
their other Rampage show. I feel like
it's close to the numbers that they do on Rampage. They're similar, not too.
I thought Rampage was lower.
I don't know. I usually see something that puts them out all the time, and they're always very, very close. Like Collision sometimes is higher than Rampage, but then sometimes they're about the exact same. So it just depends. And it also depends on what WWE is doing, because if they have the PLE on Saturday, the Collision numbers drop dramatically, like 60% typically when there's a PLE for WWE. So with Saturday being that plus Punk leaving, I gotta imagine that their numbers were down a little bit. But speaking of CM Punk leaving, so after All In Wembley, I guess I remember reading a story a couple of weeks ago, something about Jack Perry getting kicked off of a Collision set because he and CM Punk got into an argument over Perry wanting to use real glass for a spot. And I don't know what the spot was. I don't think it had to do with the All In show. Maybe it did, but you know, I don't. The only reason I don't think that is because I feel like I've heard other people talk about doing like that windshield spot and always just using real car glass because it doesn't shatter, it just dents in and breaks like it did when they used it. So whether or not it was for that or something else, I don't know. But Punk said no, you got to use fake glass, and you know, Jungle Boy.
Okay, let's go by what like other sources are saying. Multiple people backstage who are like former like wrestlers now, just backstage hands, told him this is a bad idea, don't do it. And then they sent Punk in to try to tell him, because for whatever reason they thought he would respect Punk, and Punk then told him he was an idiot and he shouldn't do it. However, someone on Dynamite had already approved it to be done at Collision ahead of time.
Okay.
So that's where the drama was.
Gotcha. So, you know, whatever happens there, and then, you know, fast forward to the pre-show for All In. Perry and Hook are wrestling on a limo. Perry goes around to the front of the limo, smacks on the windshield, looks dead in the camera, and says, "That real glass, cry me a river." So then that apparently caused CM Punk to say something to him as he was walking out of his match, and that got into an altercation, and they were yelling. Tony Khan apparently got involved and felt his life was threatened, and it led to CM Punk being terminated from AEW, and AEW released this statement. This is from their official Twitter account. Statement from All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan. All Elite Wrestling, AEW, has terminated wrestler and employment agreements between Phillip Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, general manager, and head of creative of AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW All In London on Sunday, August 27th. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. Khan offered the following statement. Phil played an important role with this is Tony Khan saying this. Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision, mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which it comes as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nonetheless, I make every decision in the best interest of many amazing people who make AEW possible each and every week, and our talent and staff, venue operators, and many other whose efforts are unsung by essential to bring our fans great shows on television and arenas and stadiums throughout the world. So that was from Tony Khan.
You started that wrong, though. You have to go at the beginning.
That's why I just finished.
So that was Tony Khan, and then he did cut a promo before Collision.
He did too, because he did the pre-taped one that played at the beginning of the TV aired version.
Yeah.
And then he did one where he literally brought a folding chair, sat out on the entrance ramp like a weird child, and addressed the crowd and got booed like a motherfucker, which I think
it was in Chicago. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, there was nothing he could have done, but I
thought the Young Bucks doing the victory lap was a bad touch too.
Yeah. I think Tony's goal was if he went out and he got it maybe out of their system and directed it at him, they wouldn't direct it at everyone else and ruin the show.
But they still kind of ruined the show too.
A little bit,
but not as bad, I guess. Maybe that did work.
So I think that might have been the goal, but then it's Tony Khan, so it might have just been him trying to be like, please like me, please.
So Kevin,
he's the bad guy, not me.
You had an interesting theory on this. Do you still believe it?
What, that's a work?
So I was gonna get him to say, but
I don't know. I mean, honestly,
If it's a work, it's the biggest work of the century.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, but yeah, if it was a work and ends up being one, then fucking kudos to them. Maybe that's my hope, that it is just a work, because like this would be the work of all fucking works.
Yeah, and then there was also reports that he got into it with Miro, but then people were like, no, that was just them joking around.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
even Miro said that. Yeah, even Miro said no.
He took pictures with like the referee and Samoa Joe backstage, like after the match. Like he would seem like in good spirits and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know, man. But the fact that Tony Khan felt threatened for his life and safety
so here's my theory.
Cracks me the fuck up, dude.
That's why, like when he says stuff like that. It's stuff like that makes me think it's a work. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I think I don't think it's a work, unfortunately. I think that was the legal team trying to get ahead of the game and put a spin on it, so that way if Punk tries to sue them, which he probably will, they are like, well, we've got all these witnesses, even though there's apparently cameras in their gorilla position at all times.
Their cameras, and Tony Khan was right there the whole time too. So I don't know what they needed an investigation for.
Yeah, that was another thing, is why'd you need an internal investigation? He was right there, and allegedly Punk lunged at him and said he was gonna quit and all this. And
yeah,
well, first off, how do you feel threatened when you have Samoa fucking Joe there in gorilla position with you?
Right.
I don't care if Punk has trained MMA. You've got big ass fucking Samoa Joe there. He's gonna rip that boy off of you and save you real quick.
Well, the funny thing is, somebody tweeted at Eric Bischoff and said, "Did you fire Kevin Nash when he there was an incident Kevin Nash kicked open his door and took his watch off like he was about to fight or whatever?" And Eric Bischoff was like, "Nope, we got our shit clear and went and had a beer together."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and it's funny because all the people, everybody on the internet has this take now that Bully Ray came out and said something. Like Bully Ray on Busted Open had said something about how man, that's just a normal day in a locker room back in the day. That shit is normal in that type of environment. And now everybody's like, oh, this would have been fine, but everybody now is taking that take, and that's their take. But it was Bully Ray that said it first. But it's just yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I just don't think that CM Punk, Phil Brooks, I don't think he would have taken it that far. Is he intense, dude? Yes. Does he get passionate about when he thinks he's right and defending his opinion? Yes, he does. And we've seen that on a number of occasions. And, he does tend to maybe take things a little bit too far. And he has, worked himself out of jobs because of it. I mean, just look at how he left WWE. You know what I mean? That was over.
I mean, WWE though, he took his ball and went home, and then they fired him because he refused to work. That's not the same as him starting a fight backstage.
Well, right, but I mean, he's always had that kind of brand as being difficult to work with. You know what I mean? That just But again, other people that have had that same tag put on them are Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you know what I mean, people like Hulk Hogan, people like that. That doesn't work for me, brother. A lot of those guys, especially when they care a lot about what they do and they're passionate about it, they can be difficult to work with. And when you're trying to be an adult and you got a bunch of kids around you, I can get where he'd be frustrated. But at the same time, all these things that have happened, all these negative things always seem to center around him. So then it's is it him, or is it the environment, or is it, you know what I mean? It can't all be everybody else, because...
Well, here's the thing, though. Aside from the altercation he apparently had with Regal...
Which, and that's stupid. Why would he say that? If that really happened, why would he do that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you see that, Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more and more stuff just coming out like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seemed like a thing where Regal went to be hey, and there was this bad blood there, and he was just I'm not gonna shake your hand because you're just a Triple H stooge. Oh well, who cares? Regal didn't take it personally, so I don't care. But every incident that's happened has been a part with that friend group. because they're all linked back to the Elite.
I mean, Jack Perry's not necessarily.
He's one of their friends. He's been one of their friends that they brought in at the beginning.
And Punk did a lot to try to put Jack Perry over when he first got to AEW too, like a lot. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like, and
there's an interesting amount of conspiracy going around now because Mark Henry also made some comments on Busted Open.
Yeah, you sent the link to that, but was long, so I didn't listen to the whole thing. Cause
it wasn't that long. It was literally like a clip it.
It was like the thing that I opened was like 43 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, the thing I sent should have only been like maybe 45 seconds.
Oh yeah, I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah,
but
because it was literally just the clip it where he says something along the lines of, well, you know, now the so-called problem is gone, so everything should be sunshine and rainbows and unicorn piss, and there shouldn't be any problems, right? Right? We'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Right.
So like it seems like he's a little agitated, like maybe Punk wasn't the only problem or wasn't the problem, like to begin with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that plays out too. But and on top of all that, there's also been stuff coming out ever since All Out to begin with, where Punk gets to overseas and they don't have a ride for him to get to the fucking building.
Yeah, but other people have said that was common though. That wasn't just him that suffered that.
I don't know. I know that apparently the person in charge of that is one of the Young Bucks' friends as well. So it's like, well, that's a little weird. But more importantly, now this is all alleged, there was a meeting set in Georgia, in Atlanta, where Tony Khan was getting the Elite and Punk together so they could bury the hatchet. And it was the day before All Out. And last minute, like Punk's in Georgia, they cancel the meeting. And then the next day, he doesn't have a ride to the building, and then fucking Jungle Boy is going into business for himself and fucking talking shit into the camera, and now all this fucking shit's happening. Like, dude was having a rough fucking day, or rough fucking 24 hours at that point. So I feel like, yeah, he's gonna be a little irritable, and to go and pick a fight with him seems like a dumb idea, or unless you're intentionally trying to fucking get him to hit you so you can get rid of him. Like Jungle Boy 100% was trying to start shit.
So do you think CM Punk wanted to get fired?
That's possible too. I mean, he wasn't happy. And he tried to leave once already.
Did you guys see when he walked out of All In with the championship, he had it draped over his back shoulder, holding one finger in the air?
Yes. Do you think that's supposed to be a Roman Reigns thing?
Yes.
It was the
exact Roman Reigns pose. The exact. Like he had it draped over his shoulder, walking with the one finger in the air at the entrance as he was about to walk out. It was the exact fucking Roman Reigns pose.
So were you the anonymous person on Twitter that just posted CM Punk's backstage at Raw tonight?
No, I'm not.
I saw that too.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think. Here's the thing. As much as CM Punk has talked about WWE and not liking that system, I think maybe now he realizes when it's not run by people with a backbone, what could easily happen when you let the inmates run the asylum. And maybe he understands that now. And maybe that's not how he wants his wrestling career to end. I can't see him being okay with his wrestling career ending on this note. Now, but here's the thing. Does WWE want CM Punk back?
That is the thing. Granted, someone did say that currently it would be, ironically, another Khan who would get to make that decision.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, that it would be, and with them being, with the Endeavor deal, Punk already having an MMA background, being some crossover potential there, I can see Endeavor being on board with bringing him in. Triple H has always been like, fuck man, like if If we're
Makes
gonna
money, I
do
don't
business and make money, like put them on me. Although, did you guys see where supposedly Triple H said that if Endeavor decides to bring Shane McMahon back with any type of bring in Shane McMahon with any type of power, he'll gladly hand the reins over to somebody else and walk away and find a different opportunity.
Oh, Triple H is all elite.
Oh man, that'd be interesting.
But that's,
I'll blame him considering fucking Shane's trying to book himself into everything.
But they brought him in. But Triple H was running creative when they brought him in for WrestleMania. So I mean, I don't know if is there really like
maybe it was just that last experience was real bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone allegedly was real pissed off at Shane, and that's why he hasn't been back since. So,
but it's the thing though. It's that's not a quote. That's just somebody saying that he said that. And who the fuck gets that information from Triple H and it's not a quote somewhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of more interesting to me. Is like who allegedly is hearing him say these words?
Right, exactly. And that seems to be the case with a lot of this stuff. Is like, oh, a source said this. Well, who's talking to you? Because most of the people that he talks to aren't talking to you. I don't. The 90% of the people that he confides in aren't talking to you. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, and I mean, unless he made like an off-color comment backstage and someone overheard it, but even then, that could be him just joking.
And even Kevin Nash has said too, like, when Paul calls me, it's like, how you been? How's the family? What are your kids up to? He goes, we don't talk about business at all. He's like, we don't, I don't ask him questions because I don't care. I don't need to know. Like, we don't talk about anything like that. So it's like, that's his close friend that he talks to, and he doesn't say anything about it.
Because they Nash is retired, so it's not like he's in the thick of it. The most he has to do with the business is his podcast, and even then it's not like they're regularly reviewing.
Well, 90% of the podcast has nothing to do with
current day product.
Right, but
so there's no there would be no reason for him to be like, hey, so what's going on with this? No, they're just gonna catch up. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to go off subject, I want to send you guys a photo in the chat.
Listen, we don't want to see your dick
briefcase.
Anymore. Quit sending it.
Of the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Yeah, the new.
Ooh. I dig that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, they got to quit calling him Mr. Money in the Bank. Because he is definitely Senor Money in the Bank. That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to get caught back up to Raw.
Yes, I guess the rumor too is that supposedly they do have 2 sets of tag titles made and ready to go. So it sounds like the possibility of them being split up.
That's cool.
Could be real.
All right, so back to CM Punk then. So it's gonna be a couple of questions, right? So first question is, does he have a non-compete clause? Because Tony Khan refused to answer that question when he was asked. When will we hear from CM Punk on what he has to say in his side of the story? Because rumor and innuendo is that he's going to give his side of the story really soon. So it'll be interesting to see whose podcast he does that on and what lawsuits.
No.
What?
Can you imagine if in another
he goes
week
back to
or
Cole
two,
Cabanas?
He and Cole Cabana hate each other.
No. Does Cole Cabana even have a podcast anymore?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
They don't.
Think so.
He doesn't do
No.
the interview style anymore. He was doing
He learned his lesson after getting sued.
he was doing an anatomy of the match type stuff. But that was, I don't know if he even does that anymore. But
No. So let's say you're watching Raw, you're watching SmackDown, and all of a sudden there's a pan out, and it's him sitting at a desk with Stone Cold.
oh.
On the Broken Skull session.
Oh, that'd be a good
dope.
one. That would be good. That would be interesting. That'd be a soft way to bring him in and see.
Honestly, yeah, because he would do it for Austin.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it was a WWE thing or whatever, that would be. You talk about highly rated, you know what I mean? The one with Jericho was intriguing, very highly rated, but that would break them all.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that though? He would be what happened? I hear you're fighting people backstage. And then he'd also at the same time be like, yeah, that was just a normal thing back in the day. You just fight it out and you get out of your system and you move on and do business.
What?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And there's other possibilities. He could go to Japan and wrestle, but I don't think it's going to be as fanfare as what going back to WWE would be. Like I think
as much money.
In Impact, I don't think Impact has the money to afford him.
They do not.
And
they couldn't even afford an autograph signing with him.
And that ROH doesn't exist anymore because it's under the Tony Khan umbrella, so he's not going there. But yeah, man, it'd be interesting. Like there was another rumor that he was close to trying to get out of his contract last year so he could be in the Royal Rumble. So
yeah,
maybe that's when we see the last time we saw CM Punk was the Royal Rumble in WWE. Maybe that's the next time we see him.
Listen, as much bad blood as there was with him and his departure with WWE and everything, you can't tell me that all these years, maybe for a while not, but at some point he eventually looked at this as an avenue to get back to the WWE. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because Punk's very stubborn.
He is.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
chance for him to get back to WWE. I think AEW was a chance for him to give the middle finger to the WWE and get it out of his system and feel like he got his.
But him showing up to the one show, you know what I mean, and then he showed up to that Cauliflower Alley.
Yeah, he took a picture with Ray and talked with JBL and some of those guys.
JBL, yeah. So,
I mean, he might be more interested in it now, but I'm saying 3 years ago or 2 years ago, however long it's been, I can't keep track anymore because he's only wrestled 3 times. I feel like he came into this with the intention of being fuck you, I'm going to make this company something kind of thing versus now where it's more of a
this
company.
Yeah, I don't think I think now though he's gonna have to humble himself a little bit and then realize okay, if I don't want this to be my last image in pro wrestling, this is where I need to go to make it right. And because he
walked out champion, what's better than that?
Yeah, he's only got he walked out champion, but and that's the sad and that alone too is the sad and unfortunate thing about all this. AEW just put 80,000 people in Wembley Stadium, and all anybody can talk about is this altercation between Jungle Boy and CM Punk, and it's and all in is basically just become a backdrop for this stupid issue. When it should have been a benchmark for their company. And that seems to be the case with AEW is every time they gain momentum, shit like this just knocks it down and becomes a story, and it becomes more about that. Because I guarantee you, and I will say this right now, next year when they go to Wembley, they will not sell nearly as many tickets. I fucking guarantee it.
I bet you they sell more than what the stadium has.
No.
They put seating
in
the whole.
If they sold 80,000 this time, I bet you they sell
90,000.
I bet you they sell 60,000 next time.
475,000. They're gonna build they're gonna build another Wembley right
because
next door.
Because but here's the thing though, that is when you're looking at AEW ticket sales, when they come back to markets, they do not do as well the second time. In the domestically in the U.S. and everywhere, it's every time, and the more they come back, the worse they do.
Yeah, but overseas, it's because AEW comes back to the same 3 cities in the States.
But that's the thing though, they did it
where overseas, they're starving for shows, big shows, not just their local stuff. So I feel like that's a different beast versus we've been to Chicago 36 times this year. Yeah, of course Chicago's gonna be fucking fatigued and don't want to see you anymore.
Yeah, I still don't think they're going to do as well going back there the second time. I don't. I really don't. I just unless something drastically changes with their product between now and then, unless their storytelling gets a shit ton better than what it is right now, I don't think that they'll sell as many tickets coming back. Something will drastically have to change with their product between now and then, but they don't see anything wrong with their product. So they just tried to build a pay-per-view a week after another pay-per-view and sell it with one match that had a story going into it.
So that's a funny narrative that I saw on Twitter today of the AEW marks being like, see, even with just no build up, like everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be a shit show because after the CM Punk stuff, like, but they still put on a really solid show of some great matches, and I'm like, no, everyone complains that there's no story and they aren't invested in them, so they have no interest in it to give a fuck if the match is good or not. No one's saying the matches aren't good. We're saying that the fucking stories are shit, so we don't give a fuck about the matches for them to be good.
And the funny thing is, somebody said that about Payback. They're like, oh, so basically this is just like Raw as a PLE. I'm sitting there thinking the Trish Becky match alone was better than all the All Out matches like combined. You know what I mean? So,
I don't disagree with that statement either.
I mean, honestly, and not even that. Like they had 3 solid matches on that card, and then you had like LA Knight and Miz was whatever, but you had the story. It had a story.
Had a story, had a build. Yeah.
With John, and the funny thing is, go off subject. Somebody's like, "Why did John Cena have to take off his shirt to raise LA Knight's hand?"
Yeah. Took off the referee shirt.
I like that it was too tiny for him to do his usual cool little like one sleeve pull thing.
Yeah.
So he had to take it off like a normal person.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Why do you have to do that?"
Yeah, so every match on the Payback card had a story going into it, had a rivalry. Some of the stories were better than others, and some of them are more personal than others, but they had a reason for you to watch the show. And that's even been the case on Raw and SmackDown for the most part. You're not just seeing matches for the sake of matches. Like, you know, and like Eric Bischoff brought this up the other day. I was listening to, he has this show called Strictly Business, and he was talking about how, you know, for the most part, All Out or All In didn't have a whole lot of match build up. And John Alba was like, well, what about Young Bucks versus FTR? He goes, well, what's the story? Well, who's the best tag team? He goes, that's not a story, that's a reason. Like that's a question. That's what he said. That's not story, that's a question. Like who's the best tag team is a question. It's a reason to have a match to get the answer. It's not a story. Which he's 100% right on that. There's no arc. There's no beginning, middle, there's no twists, there's no turns, there's no end. Like there's
no hook.
Yeah, there's nothing other than, oh, I think I'm the best. No, we're the best. Let's have a match to figure it out. Like that's what you see a lot of times in AEW. Like even this Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson thing. Like I get that this was a last second replacement, and like okay, if you can't have CM Punk there, let's throw out Bryan Danielson to have his first match back, and that's awesome. It was a decent match because I think Bryan's still a little bit limited. Like they had to rely on blood and shit like that to, you know, make it more, you know.
And it was a strap countdown again.
It was a strap match. I think Final Countdown's probably just his new entrance music to begin with, but
now apparently that was expensive as fuck, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe they got the rights for it for long term. Maybe they got like a
Warner Brothers stepped in and was like, "Hey, we'll help," kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they got it for a long period of time for that amount that they paid, not just a one off, but. I mean,
said it was a one-off, so
and you know, and Cassidy and Mox had an okay story, but the story wasn't necessarily all about them. It was about Blackpool and best friends, and this match kind of grew out of that. So it wasn't even like told that well going into it. It just like I said, man, unless something changes with them, like it's just not going to get any better. Like the product is what it is. It's the exact same shit week in and week out, every single show. And it's just, you know, if people love the blood and gore and the, like, you know, Moxley getting what the fucking skewers shoved in his head and looking like Pinhead, if people love that shit, great. Personally, it's not my cup of tea to see that all the time, and that's what's becoming. It's all the time. Like, he just did that spot, a couple of months ago? Like, now we're seeing it again? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
it's
sad.
In Japan.
Yeah. It is sad because like they have the talent there.
Oh, without doubt, yeah.
It's just they don't focus on AEW. They focus on AEW with New Japan and AEW breaking out with this, and then Ring of Honor, and
they don't focus on AEW. They focus on the individuals. It is still at its heart an indie promotion. Everyone there is out for themselves. No one there is for the company.
Eric Bischoff called All In an indie show on steroids, and I'll be honest with you, I can't disagree with him.
Yeah, it was an indie show in a very big venue.
Yeah.
Very big, famous venue.
Yeah. I mean, and good for them to be able to pull it off, but...
But the funny thing is, if you look back like to the first All In, like the first All In was fucking tremendous, and guess what? It was in a 10,000 seat arena, and that's just fine.
And that was also an indie show on steroids. Let's be honest, but it was different at the time.
Yeah, and they at least there were some stories in it though. That's the funny thing is there were stories that like. You know what I mean? Like, you had Jericho's debut, and then you had Cody winning the NWA title, you know what I mean? And then, like, the company kind of grew out of this. Whereas this, outside of MJF and stuff, and Cole, I mean, even the shit with Ospreay and Jericho, like, there just was not enough build with everything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it wasn't enough there. It was just thrown together.
And also, well, the problem with that was there wasn't enough build.
And here's
on AEW, and here they built it in New Japan.
And here's the other problem too, is that you're having this big AEW All-In show, and you're having a marquee match between Jericho and Ospreay doesn't even fucking work for AEW. You're putting him over in this big huge event, and he's not even your fucking talent.
Right. That's they're working on trying to make him.
But he could very easily say, you know what, WWE's offering me this, so I'm just going to take that. Like,
he's doing something for Impact now. Next,
yeah, like he's a free agent. Like I think his New Japan contract's up in a couple of months. Like he's going to be a free agent. He literally could do so. Yeah, maybe he does sign with AEW, and maybe that will help make sense. But if he decides to walk and go somewhere else, then. And he's already said that
Jericho, though, like it's not like it matters.
I know, but but he's one of AEW's like staple stars. Like Jericho's been there since day one. He's an AEW day one, and you're putting over a guy that doesn't even work there. My point is, if you want to put somebody over on that show, why didn't they build Sammy Guevara versus Chris Jericho and let Jericho put Guevara over at that show? That would have been worth it. That would have been building your company instead of having some guy named Will Ospreay, who's a big name, who's an international name, great. Like, he's a talented guy, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but, he's not your talent. Sammy Guevara is, and he's on the fucking sidelines. He's the second banana right now. This dude was in a world championship match 3 months ago at one of your pay-per-views, or 4 months ago at one of your pay-per-views, and now he's not doing jack shit. But yet you're putting over guys that don't work in your company at the biggest show that you have ever. Like that's the shit that frustrates me about AEW. This is why they're never gonna fucking grow, because they're all about just booking these fantasy dream matches. And once you see them, you see them, and fuck anything else. Like it's just I don't know, man. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it.
Well, it's just like how they use that Sammy Guevara takes too many vacations.
I forget the exact context of that, but it was.
You don't even know Sammy.
Oh man.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I agree, and that's because at the end of the day, Tony Khan, and I feel like as odd as it is, I saw a clip from Cornette's show where he's talked about this multiple times, where he says Tony Khan is still just that little kid in his bedroom with his action figures, fantasy booking matches. He's not telling stories.
That's very true.
It's like the old days of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They used to have these fantasy games in there, and you would pay X amount of dollars for your wrestler and send in a check and try to compete. It was called the Imaginary Wrestling Federation. That's basically what it is. It's his Imaginary Wrestling Federation. He's in his room with his
and look, man, he's got the money to do it, and if that's what he wants his company to be, that's fine. I just, to me, it just makes more sense if you want your company to grow to build the stars that you have, and putting over people that aren't even under contract with you is not a good way to build the stars that you have. And I don't know. To me,
it's one of those things where he is not Vince McMahon. He's not too, what I mean? Like, he should not be as involved as like he
is
ever was. Yeah. Yes, just because you're the owner doesn't mean you need to be like, what I mean? That like Ted Turner.
I mean, he can't even command respect from his own employees, let alone fucking run the show.
I mean, Eric Bischoff was the executive producer of Nitro. He wasn't head of creative. And that's the thing. Like, if you're going to be head of creative, you need to have a backbone. Like, there's a reason why he gave Kevin Sullivan and Kevin Nash and Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes that job, because, you know, at the end of the day, people might bitch, but nobody's going to go to those guys and say, you know, and you know, pick a fight. And if they do, they're going to get put in their place pretty quickly. And you know,
and the unfortunate thing for him is that JR is so up in age and not the greatest of health, because if JR, even at his age, was in better shape, like, that's somebody you say, okay, you're the executive producer, you run the show, he's done it, you know what I mean? Or him, or even, like, you know, I mean, I know Tony Schiavone's kind of,
but that's the problem. Like, Schiavone's the head of talent relations, or the head of career, like the head of like the like, and Tony Schiavone is this, like, he's not that guy. Like, he does not command respect like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not somebody that people fear, or somebody that people even respect on that level. Like, that he's not, like, Mark Henry would be that guy.
He's somebody that could be in charge of, like, the announcers, or like he did in WCW. He was in charge of the announcers, or you know what I mean, in charge of the broadcasters. Like, that's like more of his role. But
you got fucking guys like Mark Henry and Big Show there. Like,
yeah, that's who should be the head of that type of role, is those guys.
And then have people, or even have people like Daniel Bryan or whoever be your bookers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
because you know, supposedly Bryan is booking Collision, and there's more stories being told on Collision than there are on any other other shows.
Tony Khan said if you ever got hit by a bus and couldn't do it anymore, like, Brian Danielson, so is the guy. He would give it to him.
Well, just call that bus CM Punk and just hand it over to Bryan now.
I mean, he did fear for his life.
Yes.
I honestly, man, like, it is what it is, and like I said, it's fine. It's Tony Khan's company. He's got the billions of dollars. It's him that's fronting this check. So if it's him if this is how he wants to run his company, that's, you know, who am I to say that? But at some point, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna get tired of it and just stop watching it altogether, because right now Raw and SmackDown are so good. And even NXT has been really good. Like, I'm getting my fill of professional wrestling just watching the WWE product. I really don't have a need to watch other stuff. I watch AEW mostly for this podcast, and with the hopes, much like I did Monday Night Raw in, you know, the last like 5 years, hoping it would get better. But I held on with WWE for that long because I had a long-term investment. I've been watching WWE since I was 3. You know, I don't have that long-term investment with AEW, and I'm pretty close to just saying, you know what, fuck this. Like, I don't care anymore. There are some guys I care about, like MJF and Cole and, you know, Bryan, you know, for the most part. But outside of that, man, there's not a whole lot that I give a shit about.
It's funny because you said you're getting your fill with WWE, and I'm not getting my fill anywhere now.
I'm sorry. Well, maybe you'll get him in WWE pretty soon.
Pretty soon? What are you talking about? He's wrestling right now. He's about to win the world title. You guys are missing it.
Monday Night Raw. Oh, jeez.
The last thing I want to talk about real quick before we close out is also that Tony Khan, both in the scripted like thing that went up before Collision and his like on stage performance for all the people at Collision, legitimately looked like he was ready to cry. Both times.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, was he crying because he's like, people aren't gonna like me? Was he crying because he's sad he lost CM Punk? Is he crying because he's still fearful for his life? Like,
yes.
Yes, all the above. He does not know how to talk on camera. He was mildly entertaining that one time that he ran down MJF, like, in that backstage segment. Like, that was actually kind of funny when he like screamed at those guys. But that's the thing, that was an act. He doesn't actually have that kind of backbone. If he had that kind of backbone, then maybe those guys would respect him. But he doesn't, and that's the ironic thing about it, is that when push comes to shove, he can't do what he actually did in that backstage segment. But literally, when push came to shove, he couldn't do it, so he was afraid for his life.
He lunged at him.
And, that's funny too, because Bischoff, I've always heard him tell stories. He goes, "Yeah, man. Anytime I had to deliver bad news to somebody, I made sure that Rick Steiner or like I forget he had like a list, like Rick Steiner, Mike Rotunda, like there was like 5 or 6 guys that he would make sure that were in the room with him when he had to deliver the bad news to somebody in case shit went down. He's like, because I know Rick's not letting anybody get to me. Like he would have his boys in there, like so." Like so, and that's
nobody fuck with Steiner,
right? So Tony apparently didn't take that advice. He didn't have anybody with him to protect him from big bad.
I mean, Samoa
CM
Joe
Punk.
was there,
yeah,
waiting to leave the curtain too.
But maybe and Samoa Joe, like somebody pointed out, he had like a big bruise on his arm from like trying to break up the altercation, I guess, or something like that. But I'm wondering what he's thinking. You know what I mean? Like, Joe's a pretty go with the flow kind of guy. I really hope though they do tell that story with him and MJF.
Oh,
I
they're
think
going
that'd be
to
fun.
because MJF
yeah.
followed it up on Twitter. He said something like this: "I'm not that 20-year-old kid anymore.
Yeah,
like fuck you" or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be that. Yeah, if that's his next challenger. Yeah, I'm down for it.
And while I'm on the this rant about AEW, the other thing, like somebody even pointed out on Twitter, like this is a reason why I hate AEW. Did you see that spot where Penta and Orange kept hitting each other with destroyers?
Yeah,
like that shit just takes me out of it, man. Like it's just so fucking bad. Like it's not entertaining to me. Maybe some people it's entertaining, but like that's not. I don't know. Like what's the point?
That's not a destroyer at that point. 'Cause he ain't destroying.
Yeah, it's not. He's
So
popping right up and
believability.
doing it again. Yeah, exactly. Like they got a lot of shit to clean up, in my opinion, and I don't know if Tony Khan is capable of cleaning it up because I think he likes it the way it is, and if that's the case,
I
then-
stand by my theory that the reason why he has made zero effort to not let people go into business for themselves and not to have all this drama is because he likes the fact that it keeps them in the news. Because without that, no one talks about AEW.
Yeah, that's true. Because nobody really talked about Wembley
You're not
after it
wrong.
happened. They just kept talking about the fallout, and it just all outs apparently tend to be like the worst time of year for. Maybe CM Punk just has like a. Just maybe it's like
it was
this time of the year.
a yearly
It
period.
was a year.
or
It was a year ago today.
something. Yeah,
It was a year ago today. It
Yeah.
happened.
but-
He got fired literally 2 days before his anniversary of almost getting fired the first time.
Yeah, yep. And that also makes me wonder if like he really just wanted out. Like if he wanted out, maybe when he showed up at Raw a few months ago, he's like, hey, Paul. I'll be gone. I'll be gone from there soon.
Paul.
Just keep your ear out for me or something.
Yeah, keep the door open.
Yep.
Keep the lights
He's
on.
like,
I might be
he's
interested.
like, first of all, don't call me Paul, and I won't call you Phil.
Paul, my name's Billy. No, anyway, all right. Anyway,
Bob, my name's Billy.
it doesn't matter what your name is. All right. Anyway, yeah. All right. So that's really all I got for this week. I think we kind of ranted about this stuff enough. Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up before we close out?
Nope.
No,
All right, cool. Well, hey, thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is kind of later, so I'm sorry we're a little bit late, but we had some issues recording, getting together, but it actually worked out because we were able to get Michael on here. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back again on Thursday with a new episode. Probably won't be as much to talk about then, but who knows? This is the pro wrestling business, and as we've found out over the past few years, shit can happen in an instant. So
listen to Jason and I this Thursday for our Raw recap.
yeah. Raw, SmackDown, and whatever, but
the funny thing is, there's NXT and Dynamite.
Yeah, maybe we'll
those two shows.
maybe we'll talk about NXT next week or something. I don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen, but maybe we'll get into Jey Uso being a part of the Raw roster and what that means, since we didn't really talk a lot about it.
I was gonna lie and say, hey, I'll watch NXT so we can talk about it, and then show up Thursday and be like, no, I didn't watch it.
You should have. That would been great.
Well, tune in on Thursday to find out if Kevin actually watched
next
NXT
time.
or not. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the show. Michael, you got anything you want to update us on Modern Toy Fair since it's been a few weeks?
Yeah, youtube.com/Modern Toy Fair. We've got all sorts of different videos up. It's starting to really gain some steam. So if you enjoy action figures, head over there and check that out. Check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok @Modern Toy Fair. TiVo.com/Modern Toy Fair. We've got shirts of our logos on them, shirts with the Gimmick Minute stuff on them, all sorts of stuff. So check that out as well.
All right, awesome. Hey, thank you again, and for hopping on with us, and thank you guys for listening. And find out everything you can about our show by tweeting us at Live Your Gimmick. That's the @ symbol followed by LIVYOURGIMMICK. Go give us a follow.
I'm scared for my life.
Go give us a follow there, and also find us on the other social medias just by searching Gimmick Minute. But outside of that, man, that's all I got. So for Kevin and for Michael and for little Wimbley Tony Khan out there, I'm Jason, reminding all of you smarks to be a fan and always live your gimmick. Goodbye, everybody.
I wonder if he peed himself.
He might have.
Easily.